Ritual of Raven is an interesting game, and one that manages to deftly avoid many of the things that keep me away from some cozy farming sims. I've never had a problem with these games on a structural level, and I constantly feel like I'm just one game away from finally connecting with the full genre. Instead of being someone who likes some cozy farming sims, I feel like I'm so close to just being a cozy farming sim enjoyer. But I've found most, for me, with their day and night cycle and chilled music, are a little too time intensive and quick paced with short days, yet very slow paced with what it wants you to do. The answer seems to be stop paying attention to the days and play, but I've never quite committed the time for this digital Stockholm Syndrome to fully grab me. However, Ritual of Raven offers something a little fresh. You can't actually harvest any of the game's crops yourself. Instead, you do rudimentary programming to get helpers to do it for you so you can go and play the rest of the game. With enough if-or clauses to make Yandere dev blush, passing off work to something I set up felt engrossing, and that managed to hook me. It also offers a cute aesthetic, steady progression, and some fun characters to pull it all along. So you may be asking, well, why won't you finish the game then? Here's what happened when I played Ritual of Raven. But first, after a frankly explosive couple of months for the channel, I've finally hit 3,200 subscribers. I really appreciated all the support I've received, and it means an awful lot to me that you're here. If you like this video, subscribing would help me out greatly. Thank you. Okay, let's start off with my problems. Ritual of Raven, within an hour or so, felt strange from a control perspective. The Steam menus before booting up the game actively encourage you to play it on controller, but menus would regularly break, either requiring you leave the menu or grab a mouse, click on something, and then swap back to controller. As well as this, the programming system where you add cards to a sequence, then execute that sequence, just works better on mouse and keyboard. When you put a card down on the sequence with controller, then start to move the other cards, you get placed at the front of the sequence again. This means that if you build your sequence from start to finish, you have to grab the card, click up, then scroll all the way to the right, and then continue that for the entire sequence you build. I feel like I've said sequence a lot here. The game also happened to crash twice while playing. This is small in comparison to what happened around the 15-hour mark. I booted up the game and my save file was gone. After some rooting around, I found it had made a second save directory, moved my save file, and then continued on. Searching around in your files for a save file to actually fix a bug the game has caused is awkward, to put it lightly, but not exactly that weird for a pre-release game. Sometimes these bugs do happen. We're not done there though. A few in-game mornings after that happened, I woke up in the middle of a cutscene, my sprite looking different. After adjusting the look in the wardrobe, spotted everything felt a bit weird. New locations had opened up that hadn't been there prior. I found it weirdly easy to get out of the map, but more importantly, I couldn't sleep anymore. Waiting enough would cause exhaustion and move on to the next day, but I could no longer complete any quests. In my save file, I found my own Ritual of Raven creepypasta, except without hyper-realistic eyes, the Silent Hill music, and without a satisfying ending. The problem is you get one save file and it autosaves each day. I had locked myself into a game that I could never progress, and it never gave any warning signs or problems before then. It was fine for a few days, I saved, and then this happened. I realized after this happened that I may like Ritual of Raven, but the first few hours can be a bit slow, especially on second go, and I just didn't like it enough to really want to go back. Obviously, it's not expected to assume this might happen, but this also felt telling to me. Other than wanting to see where the story might lead, I actually didn't feel compelled to keep going. I was intent on finishing before this, but part of this, at least, was just because I felt like I owed whoever watches this video the time and effort to say, I've given it a fair shot, and this is where I am now. And unlike some other games, I don't think the appeal is quite there for me to go back. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I realize even an hour of stopping would make me want to give up entirely, because I wasn't enthralled by Ritual of Raven. I was contented by it, and that's it. It's not just that a game-breaking bug made me stop playing, but that I didn't think I was quite hooked enough to bother continuing despite that. Having the knowledge I did, I would, of course, make up ground much quicker than before, but I just didn't want to anymore. I felt fine ending my experience of the game right here. To be honest with you, I had debated not making this video with this specific angle because games change and bugs get fixed, but It's probably not a good habit to assume that, especially when I'm giving information on whether or not you should actually give the game a go. It's worth noting this is my experience and my opinion. I'd advise synthesizing what you listen to here with the opinions of others to come to some sort of broader conclusion about whether or not Ritual of Raven is for you. When I finally go back and actually finish the game, I'll leave a pinned comment to talk about it below, and to avoid this video becoming entirely irrelevant when I do, I'll leave these technical problems right here and now move over to everything I liked and disliked while playing Ritual of Raven and why I might check it out should everything be fixed. The sales pitch for Ritual of Raven is that you get teleported to another land, become a witch, and do your witching business by using spells to enchant constructs and using those constructs to automate your farm. If Stardew Valley is super personal in approach and Satisfactory is more clinical, this is the middle ground. In my time with it, it never felt quite so complex that I ever felt lost, and not so simple that there wasn't something to strive for. It does feel a tad slow at the start, especially as the game is very insistent on holding your hand through almost every major element, but I don't fully resent this. I walked in with perhaps a better understanding of what it wants than some will do. What it does do well is build up the intensity. You can buy seals that allow you to set your constructs to go at certain times of the day, and you can add cards that store them for a certain amount of time. As well as this, you can set clauses like if fully grown harvest or if in X stage do Y activity. With each seed type needing a different card, you give seeds to your little magical bots and let them do their magic or, well, science. Eventually, you can spend shards to buy the cards to extract seeds, add new clauses, or just pop some furniture down. Growing crops not only allows you to sell them for cash or shards, but also works towards goals like new areas or relationships with the game's villagers. The villagers are very cute and charming too. It all works together to conjure a vibe that feels comfortable and light. Sage, the first witch you come across, is supposed to teach you how to be a witch and helps you gather materials to summon your familiar, but soon leaves in order to chase down their own that has gone missing. You learn the tools from your new familiar, who also doesn't seem all that comfortable with actually knowing what witches do. I did feel like this setup could have benefited from a little more trial and error. I kind of wanted to do things wrong and actually explore what it's like to learn how to witch. I do acknowledge that that would betray some of what the game is going for though. I think Ritual of Raven wants to be that game you just have on in the background. It gives you a lot to do, much of it engaging, it gives you tons of characters, it gives you a thematically appropriate fishing minigame where you pull worldly objects out of a pool. Even with automated constructs doing the majority of your farm work, I constantly felt like there was something to work towards, some new path to find, and some new puzzle to tinker with. This made it a great game to just flick on when I wanted something to play and didn't want to put too much thought into watching my Steam library scroll by. I think there is a real charm to just a game that you put on when you can't be bothered to start the climb over the mountain that is your ever-growing backlog. I think that's also part of the appeal of Stardew Valley. It's chill, sure, and engaging with a surprisingly deep world, but it's also easy to just keep playing. It can be easily played for hundreds of hours without feeling exploitative, without pushing you to spend more or keep up to date with a season pass. It's there when you need it, a comfort food for a bad day. And this, I think, is why I couldn't bring myself to continue Ritual of Raven. It fits into a kind of game that is at its absolute best without friction. And I like farming sims, I like games in this genre, but I don't like every single one of them. I think there's a unique blend of all these elements that makes it really click for me. I liked a lot of elements of Ritual of Raven, I liked the package that came out of it, but I didn't really love any single part. None kept me going, none felt like they were pulling me to keep playing, they just existed for me when I wanted it to. And this is fine, this is good in a lot of ways. When that friction comes in, it just stopped me in my tracks. These games are at their best when they are drip feeding just the right amount of progression, so much that it doesn't feel like a slog, and so little that it doesn't come totally easily. You can look back after your third year, your grandpa smiling down, and say, "This is my farm." Thank you for listening to my thoughts on Ritual of Raven. If you happen to have played the game, I know that's a little bit after this video comes out, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I think there will be plenty of people who like this and plenty of people who just enjoy it in the background. I think I will get back to this one day, and I debated how I'd frame this. I'd considered maybe giving it a week or two or a month and then coming back to it, but also I guess if I choose not to talk about a game because I run into something so big like this, that also doesn't feel very good to me. It feels very, I guess, insincere. My goal here is just to give you how it felt when I played it. It's to give you my experience and then let you take that and do whatever you will with it. And I guess I didn't want to worry too much about that broader framing, I suppose. I'd like to think that someone watching this and you can combine all these different elements and come away with your own conclusions. I can't speak to how everyone will play it, will get it, but I'd also like to think that this can serve as part of a conversation internally or whatever with how you decide to spend your money or your time, more importantly. I'm rambling. Anyway, I hope you liked, and if you do, I'd really appreciate liking the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing really helps me out. The last few months have just been incredible. Like, I can't believe it some days when I look at the amount of people who care about what I have to say. It's very grounding and a very weird experience, but a lovely one too. Anyway, thank you for watching.